Welcome, everybody, to Redacted on this Thursday. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natali Morris.
And we navigate this crazy clown world together. We've got a couple of stories the mainstream media is largely ignoring, like the Victory Day parade in Moscow. Chances are you won't see that on the nightly news. And Putin's message to NATO: you will not bully us, you will not intimidate us. Remember who basically won World War II was his message. But beyond that, we're going to look at the assassination attempt on Vladimir Zelensky. They, of course, are blaming it on Russia. But we have a former CIA agent on who says, Russia's got nothing to do with this. Does he know something? We'll talk to Larry Johnson tonight on the show.
Plus, Democrats want illegals to get a vote and congressional representation. Also, illegals in Denver specifically have a long list of demands that the city has met because they want fresher foods, limitless showers. Also, they don't want any police surveillance in their shelters. So we're going to look at that list of demands in advance of, Mother's Day's coming up. Maybe you can copy and paste this if you're a mother and, it seems like you're asking for comfort.
Yeah, if you're an illegal, and maybe mothers of illegal immigrants will get more this holiday season.
Perhaps that's right. Now, here's a story also the mainstream media very much ignores. Biden accuser Tara Reid, she was on Tucker Carlson. He cannot believe some of the things that she says she's being pursued by the Justice Department for just speaking out about her assault from President Joe Biden. Yeah, so we're going to show you some highlights of that interview with Tucker. We're also going to look at Canada's hate speech law because Elon Musk just about flipped a gasket. It's been now viewed 50 million times. What is really going on with Trudeau's hate speech law in Canada? Retroactively, if you've posted things online like 5-6 years ago, that actually makes you criminally liable under this hate speech law. If you can't go back and if you can go back and remove it, you absolutely have to. So the Trudeau government basically wants you to go back and censor yourself from 5, 6, 10 years ago, or you could be facing massive fines or imprisonment. I know this sounds like a George Orwell book. It's real, and it's happening in Canada. So we're going to talk about all of that and more. Let us know where you're joining us from on this Thursday. Great to see all of you guys here. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you guys for all of your feedback, and thank you for smashing that like button, by the way. It really helps us. When you do that, it actually pushes us further out into the algorithm, specifically on YouTube. I don't know how it works on Rumble. We're streaming live on Rumble as well, but on YouTube, when you hit that like button, it pushes us further out into the algorithm. Indeed. So, we had comment yesterday on one of our videos saying, it's a hard time right now. Inflation's high. I can't afford to subscribe to the show or join the Redacted community, but I'm here every day. We appreciate you. We see you. And remember, you can do just small things like pushing the like button and showing up. And we really appreciate your participation.
And we should mention it's free to subscribe to our show on YouTube or Rumble. It's a free show. We do all the work and you get it for free. So we don't have any charges at all. It's you can follow us, whatever they call it. They call it follow now, and they call it anyway. Subscribe. People think that there's money associated with it. But it's free to subscribe. Okay. We're going to get to our top story here in a moment, talking about Zelensky and the assassination attempt on that, plus the Victory Day. But if you are tuned in right now, we are facing a debt bomb. I was talking to my father-in-law yesterday, and he said, I cannot believe the depths, the amount of debt that the United States government has right now. As you know, we show it here right behind our screen all the time on the big screen right here. $34 trillion in debt. And now experts estimate by the end of the year, we will be paying $1 trillion just in interest payments alone on the U.S. debt. This is a ticking time bomb, of course. The U.S. dollar is a ticking time bomb. That's why we're such big proponents of investing in tangible assets. Yes, gold, silver, real estate, tangible things, real things that produce for you and actually are a preservation of your wealth. Gold hitting all-time highs. Governments are scrambling right now. Central banks are buying up as much gold as they possibly can. And there's a big BRICS conference happening in Moscow in just a few weeks. And of course, China is coming in. This is how they can further remove themselves from the U.S. dollar as the reserve currency of the world, tying their currencies to precious metals and commodities. So we're big proponents of investing in gold. Our friends at Lear Capital can help you get set up right now, learning how to invest in gold. They will ship gold coins right to your house. You can store them locally in your gun safe at your house or off-site at a storage facility, totally up to you. But if you've got a few $1,000s in US dollars sitting in a savings account, what if you converted that to gold as a preservation of your family's wealth? Because it won't go down in value. That's the beauty of it, right? It holds its value, and it's a hedge against inflation. The US dollar, every time you hold $1 in a US savings account, it loses value every single day. thanks to inflation. So call our friends at Lear Capital today, 1-800-613-3557. Get on the phone with them, and they'll even help you convert an old 401k or an old IRA. You can roll it over into a gold-backed IRA that allows you to invest in gold and silver and precious metals with this IRA, a self-directed account. They'll help you do that. They're amazing people. We've talked to them on the phone. They actually helped us with one of our accounts, to one of our rollover accounts. They're fantastic. 1-800-613-3557 or go to learredacted.com, learredacted.com. Russia held its massive Victory Day celebrations today in Moscow, marking the defeat of Nazi Germany. And Vladimir Putin was on hand giving a speech about the future of Russia and told the West and NATO that they should study the history of World War II. It seems many people have forgotten the history of World War II, that you cannot defeat Russia with this kind of bullying and intimidation, he said. Meanwhile, Ukraine says someone tried to assassinate their president, Vladimir Zelensky, the beloved president of Ukraine. They blame it on Russia. And you could see the Western media parroting this all over the place. A Russian plot was foiled by Kiev in order to stop these assassins. And so Zelensky is okay. He's back to working right now. Well, we asked former CIA agent Larry Johnson to come on the show because he predicted months ago that Zelensky was not long for this world, and that once he used up his usefulness, those three-letter agencies would find a way to dispose of him, it seems. Larry, welcome back to the show.
Hi there. Good to be with you.
So what do you make of this assassination plot? First of all, this over a few days ago. I don't know the full details of it, but I'm curious how this came about, how they ran to the press to tell it was all foiled, but you had predicted this months ago. What do you know about this?
Well, I don't know much other than what I've seen, read online. But this is like the movie The Usual Suspects. And in this case, it's not Russia. I mean, look, if Russia wanted this Zelensky dead, he would have been dead long before now. They don't need to recruit two guys from the inside to, give him an exploding cigar or lace his cocaine with arsenic or, to do something like that. They just, send an Iskander or Kansal missile and take him out. What's going on is there is growing anger among the neo-Nazi elements in Ukraine towards Zelensky. That's number one. And sort of peripheral to that, you have the followers, the troops loyal to Zaluzhny, who was removed from his post and is gone missing. Ostensibly he was going to be ambassador to London. That has not worked out. So he's facing a lot of internal turmoil. And there are, some other indicators. The United States had Klitschko, the mayor of Kiev, come to Washington. So they're working with him. They're looking for a replacement. Zelensky's term is up on May 20th. The elections were supposed to be held. He suspended the elections. So the new president would have been inaugurated May 20th, May 21st. Zelensky's, prevented that. He wants to stay in power forever. And I don't think that's going to happen, particularly because the front is collapsing for the Ukrainian army across the front. Russia has been pushing, and it's just starting to come apart at the seams. So, yeah, Zelensky's time is short.
You mentioned a couple of things there I want to unpack. Let's talk about the Nazi elements, the neo-Nazi elements in Ukraine that are not happy with Zelensky. Of course, they've clashed over the years, right. And they have not been supportive of him for a long time. Can you talk about that? Why would they want him out of there?
Well, they see him as losing the war. You got to have somebody to blame. You don't blame yourself for your own incompetence. But the right sector, the Azov battalions in particular, part of why they blame him is because they were very close with Zaluzhny. The West should harbor no delusions about Zaluzhny. He was a hardcore, aligned himself very much with the neo-Nazis. So they blame Zelensky for that first and foremost. It'd be one thing if Zelensky had ousted Zaluzhny and Syrskyi came in, and all of a sudden Ukraine was enjoying victory. But it's just been the opposite. They've been losing territory and losing territory much faster than any time in the previous 2 years. And this is only likely to accelerate in the coming days.
In the coming days, of course, there had been some hope, I think, on the Russian side that they would have secured total victory in Donetsk, in the Donbass region, for Victory Day. That's something they could talk about openly. I think there's obviously, that's still not complete yet. So it looks like we'll see further movement there. But Russia's Dmitry Medvedev is pointing the finger squarely, basically, at the CIA. And Western-backed powers, and says that Zelensky has used up his usefulness and that Russia is not in the business of assassinating foreign leaders. I'm going to put this up on the screen. This is what Medvedev, in response, because they said it was a Russian plot to kill Zelensky, and as you pointed out, that's hilarious. It's not the case. He says, quote, an attempt on the life of the chief Banderite, Zelensky, in Poland. This is truly serious, Medvedev commented in response to the arrest of the Polish man. It may be the first piece of evidence that people in the West have made a decision to liquidate him. Be afraid, clown. So do you...
I love Medvedev. I mean, he just gets
he never
great
pulls
material.
punches. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think that the three-letter agency, are we talking CIA, which has multiple offices, obviously helped foment the coup in 2014 and put in this Western-backed government there? What is your sense of this? I mean, they would use proxies to carry out these types of things as they do routinely around the world, but you know these guys.
I don't think they're going to be the prime mover in this, but they could certainly be the facilitator. Look, Zelensky's got enough enemies within the ranks of the military. Just the number of casualties that they've suffered. And then on top of it, you've got the other dimension of those Ukrainians who want to end this war, who don't want to be sent to the front as cannon fodder. And, within that group, you've got parents and aunts and uncles and different relatives that, they're enraged. So he's facing this, but it wouldn't be beyond, it's true, the history of the CIA is rife with examples where they at least hatched assassination plots. But like in the case of Ngo Diem, the Vietnamese president, the United States made it clear they wanted to get rid of him, but it was the Vietnamese generals themselves that made the decision to whack him and to kill him, and then that led to an unraveling of policy in Vietnam. This may be, as Yogi Berra said, deja vu all over again. That Zelensky's his expiration term is up, and they're going to think it'd be more useful to get somebody else in there, and all this is going to do is fuel corruption and instability. This is not going to fix the situation.
I think that's a great point. Maybe not the prime movers behind the scenes, but the facilitators, the CIA, actively finding the right people and making sure that the money flows in the right direction to the people to carry it out. So we can sort of wipe our hands of it.
Yeah.
Just like the Nord Stream pipeline.
Yeah, we didn't do that. Who, us? No, that wasn't us.
Right. It's a brilliant move. So I'll just get you out of here on this, Larry, which is, of course, we're approaching this end of his term, and then the elections are suspended. What do you think is going to happen over the next few weeks with Zelensky? Will he be replaced? Will he be exiled? Will he be ousted? What's your sense of that?
Well, let's go back to what Medvedev said. We don't kill leaders. We're not going to assassinate people who are in office. When Zelensky's office expires, his legal term expires, that caveat no longer applies. I think at that point the Russians could kill him, could take him out and take out his government, because from their standpoint it would be viewed, he's no longer a legitimate president. He has become an interloper, a tyrant. And so therefore he would be fair game. The military situation on the front is really be the primary thing dictating the upheaval that will take place in Kiev, because It's not just at one spot. When you look at along that entire 1,000-kilometer line, uh, the Russians are taking one village a day, at least one village a day, moving forward, and it's now it's acquired a momentum like a big rock rolling downhill. And it's not going to stop until they reach Kiev and Odessa. That's where this is headed, and the West is panicked. It has no idea what to do.
I was going to ask you that. What is NATO going to do now? I mean, we saw Macron backing down the other day, and now will NATO back down? Will NATO go home with its tail between its legs, or try to continue this? I saw someone saying the other day that this is going to be like Biden's Vietnam, basically a protracted, multi-year funneling of money into this mess for many, many years to come. Do you think that's the case, or NATO goes home with its ball?
No, the foreign minister Lavrov at the foreign ministry laid down on behalf of Putin very clear markers. If those F-16s come into theater, they're dead, because Russia's going to treat them as a nuclear capable threat. That's number one. Number two, the only way NATO could try to intervene, they would have to start mobilizing forces and moving them towards the border of Ukraine. But this is not like the Gulf War, where the United States had 6 months of luxury to, round up troops and send them to Saudi Arabia and put them into bases and run training missions. Russia's not going to allow that, because they can see that kind of development. So NATO is good at talking, but as we saw with both Macron and Cameron, David Cameron in the UK, who said, "Oh yeah, I encourage the Ukrainians to launch our missiles into Russian territory," he backed away from that pretty quick too. The truth is this: NATO can't do anything effectively. They can't, because their entire model is flawed. They're based upon a notion that they're going to have a quick victory, going to be engaged in a peer-to-peer battle of attrition or war of attrition. And they're simply not equipped to carry out such an activity. That's what has been demonstrated over the last 2 years, as we've seen, the failure of the HIMARS, the failure of the ATACMS, the failure of the Leopard tanks, the Challenger tanks, the M1 Abrams. I've been hammering this statistic. Think about this. For every 1 hour of combat operations with the M1 Abrams tank, be in the shop to be fixed for 8 hours. Imagine
Wow.
if you were back in the United States and you're going to take your family on a vacation. You're going to drive from Washington, D.C. down to Orlando to go to Disney World. And that's about a 16-hour trip, 16, 17 hour. So for every hour you're on the road, you're going to have to pull over and get the car repaired for 8 hours. It'd take you 2 weeks to get there. That's NATO right now.
That puts it in stark terms. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
You've been right all along about this. We'll be watching this very closely over the next few days. Seems like we're at a major tipping point moment here. Larry Johnson, great to see you as always. Thanks so much.
Pleasure to be with you. Thanks, Clayton.
Thanks so much, Larry. We really appreciate it. So we will keep our eye on what happens with Zelensky over the next few weeks. Coming up here on the show, we're going to talk about illegal immigrants getting representation in Congress. Maybe they'll get the same level of representation that we all get from our members of Congress. They'd rather, take care of Israel than actually take care of America right now. And so, yes, illegal immigrants getting representation in the halls of Congress, voting. We're going to talk about that.
And the Electoral College. What do you think is going to happen when that happens? And we're also going to talk about Tara Reid, her appearance on Tucker Carlson's show, saying the same thing she said to us here on Redacted many times, that she's being pursued by the Justice Department for accusing Joe Biden of sexual assault, which she did right after it happened and has been telling the truth ever since. So we're going to highlight her story yet again to show that there is a two-party justice system in the United States. But first, we want to tell you about our friends over at Bank on Yourself, because the Wall Street financial guys say max out your 401k and IRA. Well, why do they do that? That's because they make a lot of money on your retirement, and you are then partnering with the government to invest in the stock market. So are you being lied to? Wall Street tells you that if you follow this investment advice that you'll retire in a lower tax bracket, but many retirees follow this advice and find themselves in the highest tax bracket with almost no retirement to speak of or not enough to live their lives out. But there is a better way. Bank on Yourself is a great way to grow and protect your hard-earned money. This retirement plan alternative has never had a losing year in over 160 years. So it was worth sitting down, deciding, okay, I'm going to look into this and I'm going to learn it, either myself or me with my spouse, and figure out if this works for you, because you could have tax-free retirement income and guaranteed predictable growth in retirement income. With Bank on Yourself, your principal and growth is locked in, and it is built-in inflation protection. So if you want this guaranteed predictable annual growth and control of your money and tax-free retirement, then go to bankonyourself.com/redacted and download a free report so that you can study up on how this can work for your family with a proven retirement alternative that banks and Wall Street are desperate that you don't know about. So again, head on over to bankonyourself.com/redacted for your free report. One more time, that's bankonyourself.com/redacted. Well, Democrats want to give illegal immigrants representation in Congress and the ability to affect electoral votes, which would mean follow that trail. Who gets elected to president? What laws get enacted? That is how they voted on a new bill. We're going to look at that text in just a minute. But also, illegal immigrants are making demands for their shelters of more fresh food and limitless hot showers. Now, this Sunday is Mother's Day, and I've been thinking about all the things that I want every year, which is basically like, I'd like a meal that I don't have to shop for, prepare, or clean up after, right? I don't want to go to a restaurant. I don't want to have to get my kids all dressed up. I just want to be handed food like my children are every day. Well, that's what I think must be nice. And that's what illegal immigrants in Denver have demanded, or else they have said they will not clear out their tent encampments in the city center. Here is a list of demands that an advocacy group on behalf of the migrants presented to the city, and the city agreed to almost all of them. So look at this. They want to cook their own fresh food with culturally appropriate ingredients provided by the city. So like you can't get tamales, you can't get, whatever it is they want. They want culturally, don't give us this white people food. No rice pilaf. We don't like that. We're not having that. They want chicken, rice, flour, oil, butter, tomatoes. That's what they're saying, culturally appropriate. They want shower access without time limits and can be accessed whenever.
What are they, a teenage boy?
Right. Yeah, I mean, water is expensive. The problem is we don't actually pay for the price of water. We pay for water delivery. So, okay, who cares if we have a drought? Let them have limitless hot
in these
showers.
areas, Arizona, Colorado.
Right.
Areas that...
Do not tell me that I can only have a 5-minute shower. They want medical professional visits regularly, and they want to be referred to a specialist if they need it. So, okay, cardiologist, whatever. They want direct referrals. Now, funny enough, my sister-in-law, her family is military, and so she had some special needs and she needed to go to a specialist, and they required her to go through all kinds of hoops, like military families can't get this in order to get an orthopedic doctor. But illegals want it right away. Not military families, no, screw off. But the illegals can get it.
I mean, it almost sounds fake. I'm sitting here just like scoffing at this because it almost sounds fake.
Right. Let's, if we can, just leave this up a little bit longer so that you can pause this screen or you can screenshot it and zoom in. I know it's hard to see, but I've just highlighted what I think is some of the craziest, like must be nice type demands. But I also think the 2, 8, and 9 is that they want privacy in the shelter and they don't want, any physical or mental abuse. I get it. But they also don't want any sheriff sleeping inside or no monitoring 24/7.
Oh, they don't want to be watched or have any kind of policing.
Well, first of all, we've reported on how these migrant shelters are unsafe for women and children. Do they really want this?
And they are massive drug facilitation chambers. I mean, as Anthony Rubin from Muckraker has reported here on our show, he infiltrated, or his team infiltrated, these illegal migrant shelters in New York and New Jersey, and found that these were massive drug trafficking centers.
Yes.
So no wonder you don't want any policing of these facilities. New York
City police said that these are some of the most advanced crime rings that they have ever dealt with that are coming out of the migrant shelters, number one. Number two, when they gave migrants gift cards worth cash, they got robbed. When they were sleeping, families, young girls, young moms with children, they were not safe. So who's saying that they don't want any police presence? Is it really the migrants saying this, or is this advocacy group just think that's what they might want? And again, I don't want anyone living in squalor, but these are people making demands of working taxpayers in a place they came illegally and uninvited, well, at least by the taxpayers. Seems like the government may have.
The Biden administration totally invited them.
Right.
And Mayorkas said the Department of Homeland Security facilitated it.
Right.
With the help of thousands of NGOs.
But lawmakers are not stopping it. So they are basically Denver residents placing an order with you, saying, please fulfill these demands. Now, here's a woman who said that until these demands are guaranteed, she will not leave this tent encampment that the mayor has asked to be cleared out.
Fácil porque uno no está acostumbrado a vivir así. Pero es lo que tocó.
Mandy Pimental has been at the Central Park encampment for a month with her 4 kids.
Con esto nos calentamos. Eso usamos para calentar.
Mandy wants to stay at this encampment, but the city has a planned sweep tomorrow because it's on private railroad-owned property.
El día de mañana nos han dicho que tenemos que desalojar.
Denver Human Services says families here have been offered 30 days in congregate sheltering. All of those offers turned down.
Pero en mi experiencia aquí, como en Denver, en los refugios, no tan buenas.
Declined over distrust. Families here don't necessarily believe the offer will become a reality.
Yo no me da garantía que ellos me digan de boca vamos a un refugio, sino me da un papel donde que yo diga, bueno, certifique que yo voy a estar 30 días, un mes, 2 meses en ese refugio.
So no, she rejects this. Denver shelters are not good enough, she says. The city did meet their demands, so taxpayers will pay for these demands. But taxpayers are also being asked to open their own homes for migrants.
Now, if you're interested in learning more about hosting a migrant family, all you got to do is take out your phone, dial 211. It's as easy as that. You're going to be asked a few questions, things along the lines of how long are you able to host somebody? What kind of space are you available to provide? And Kettering says you can expect that phone call to last about 20 minutes. Reporting live in Denver, Nate Pelt, Fox 31.
Okay, so how long do you think this will be voluntary?
Yeah, before it becomes mandatory.
Yes.
Like if you have a home in this particular metro area, we are making demands now, and we are going to, yes, we'll give you some sort of a tax break, or there'll be something, maybe, who knows, but they will force you to do this.
That's worst case scenario, right?
Yeah,
this is
I mean,
what
how far off are we?
Should be saying.
Well, they're
already
allowing people to sleep on private land, right? Mm-hmm. They're already allowing that to happen.
Yes.
And even you call the police and ask them to come remove these trespassers from your property, they're not doing anything about it.
Right. Well, that's what the owner of this railroad company is saying.
Exactly.
And the city's like, okay, we'll try, but they're not succeeding.
But they're not moving,
clearly.
so we can't do anything about it.
Right.
Okay.
Now, back to the bill that we talked about at the top of this show. How long until these illegals are used to subvert the electoral system? Now, Democrats voted against a bill this week that would require the census to calculate congressional and electoral representation based on citizenship only. Here is the bill, H.R. 7109, the Equal Representation Act. Now, it's a lot of double negatives, so let me explain. The bill requires the census to question and count U.S. citizens and use those calculations to decide how many congressmen and electoral votes each state gets. The Democrats don't want that, so they voted against this bill, but they were outvoted because there are more Republicans in the House. So it shows what they want is illegals to be counted in the census so that their states that offer sanctuary will have more power in Congress and more power to elect the president. In the House, take a look at the roll call. Every Democrat that voted against this, but it passed anyway because they were outvoted by Republicans. Now it heads to the Senate. It probably will not pass there, but it again shows the intention of Democrats, namely that they want to count illegals in the census to calculate representation in order to pervert the balance of power. I've been wanting to show you this video for quite some time because it's hilarious but sad, but this is so upsetting that I feel like we can only address this with humor. This is satire of a woman on TikTok who does amazing Kamala Harris impersonations. It feels true for what's happening on behalf of Democrats in this election year.
It's the same no matter who the Republican candidate is, the Republican nominee.
Well, let me just tell you this. No matter who the Republican nominee is, we're winning. We're winning.
You've seen the numbers, a lot. Do you think Donald Trump at this point is a foregone conclusion?
Well, I'm really confident we're going to win because we're going to cheat, okay? We're going to cheat. And we have so many different ways how we're going to accomplish that. First of all, we're flooding the country with new voters. I was in charge of ignoring the border in order to make that happen. We're going to release a deadly virus disease called X. Elon Musk can't have all the fun. Once we fearmonger the out of everyone, okay, we're going to go ahead and instill mail-in voting. That's how we won last time. Ooh, we've weaponized our entire Department of Justice to go after our opponent, right? And, if all else fails, we'll release the holograms of the aliens and burn the country down, whatever it takes. Go America.
She's so good.
That was really good. Really good.
I mean, it's not, satire, of course, hits the nail on the head, right? I mean, flooding the country with illegal immigrants in order to vote.
Yes, weaponizing the Justice Department, creating fear with viruses. Yeah, check, and check. So I hope that at least made you laugh instead of cry. That's all we can do at this point. But let us know what you think of this in the chat below.
All right, indeed. All right, we've got more news to get to here on your Thursday. We're going to look at this interview that Tucker Carlson just did with Tara Reid. Of course, she has accused President Biden of sexual assault. She did so immediately after it happened, and she has repeatedly and written a book about it. In fact, she's been, of course, exiled to Russia now as a result of the persecution that she's facing from the FBI and the weaponization of the Biden Justice Department. It's unbelievable. So we're going to look at that. Plus, Canada's hate speech law could retroactively harm you and force you to pay up big money or imprisonment for things that you've done and said online that might violate Justin Trudeau's thought crime bill, basically. Yes. We'll get there in a second. But first, we want to tell you about our friends over at PayneSafari.com. You can win a chance right now for a Chevrolet Silverado Trail Boss Z71. That's right. They're having this amazing giveaway right now that you can check out. All you need to do is head on over to PayneSafari.com/redacted to check them out. Now, we've partnered with Payne Safari to give you a fully customized Chevy Silverado Trail Boss. But first, let me tell you about the Shockwave Torch, is what you're seeing here on the show. They make this. This thing is perfect for prepping. You should always have an amazing torch like this in your house to protect your family in case of power outages. I don't know if you watched that full interview that Dennis Quaid just did with Tucker Carlson on the grid and preparing for the outages that we're going to see on the grid. Well, there you go. Make sure you have a 100,000-hour super bright LED flashlight, 2,000 amps, 9,000 volts, 1.5 microcumulums of power. It's easy to carry anywhere or stash in secret hideaways. Yes, 100,000 hours. Okay, that's a long time. Just the press of a button. It's easy to go. It clicks, beautiful sound. It unleashes a stunning force that can, by the way, it can also incapacitate any threat. So someone shows you popping right up, boom, right in the face of someone, coming right into your eyes, shine it right in their face. It's a powerful tool for any prepping scenario. So not only that, you can check out and win a chance to get this Chevy Silverado Trail Boss Z71. Just go to PayneSafari.com/redacted. Plus, you're going to get up to 80% off your purchase grabbing this amazing Shockwave torch. Again, go to PayneSafari.com/redacted. Get up to 80% off. And get this awesome truck. Look at that. That is a beast. That is awesome.
Yes.
And thanks, guys, for supporting our show.
Well, Tucker Carlson could not believe that someone could be punished by the Justice Department for sowing disruption. That seems to be what the Justice Department has against Biden sexual assault accuser Tara Reade. Now, Tucker published an interview with Tara Reade that he filmed when he was in Russia earlier this year. She says that she has petitioned from her lawyer many times what the Justice Department has in a sealed indictment against her. She has also asked that they unseal the records from the investigation that they did against Joe Biden immediately after her alleged assault, and she cannot get access to her records. Watch her explain how a group of Black nationalists have been charged on the FARA Act and how the Justice Department is about to charge them for sowing disruption and why she thinks that's what they have on her too.
And you know what the charge is? Sowing discord. So I want people to really hear this, because sowing discord shouldn't be a crime, and they shouldn't be able, but they're being
sowing discord?
Sowing discord. That's the term under the FARA Act and the backdoor into the Espionage Act. And so they're facing up to 10 years in prison or more. Their passports have been taken away. The sentencing happens this month. They have no ties to Russia. They simply spoke out against the proxy war against, Russia via Ukraine. And for that, they've been punished. And, what I want people to hear is that it's not just January 6 people that are being targeted by the DOJ.
No.
It's to the left. It's to the right.
That's right.
It's someone like me that just had a claim against my former employer that should have been investigated properly and should have been adjudicated in a proper way. And I should have been treated with some dignity instead of having my life torn to pieces.
Now, I was not familiar with this Uhuru group, but she's right. They have been indicted by the Justice Department. So I'd like to learn more about that. If you'd like to learn with me, let me know what you know. But here is a very basic summary of Tara Reade's case, in case you don't know, which probably you're not that familiar because the media doesn't give a crap. They either attack her or completely ignore her. Now, as I tell you her story, think about how much you do know about Jean Carroll and Stormy Daniels. Okay, let's just put that on one side of your brain as we talk about this.
Maybe more than you ever wanted to know.
Right. Now, in the 90s, Tara Reade worked as a staffer. She was a fervent Democrat for then Senator Joe Biden. He was a very handsy guy. She knew that all along. And one day he told his office manager to make Tara bring him his gym bag. She chased him down. And when she found him, she says he pushed her into a hallway and used his hand to assault her. She froze, pushed him away. And when it was done, this is what she says in her book. He said, come on, man, I heard you liked me. She said she didn't cry or speak out. She froze. And when it was over, he said, you're nothing to me. You understand? Nothing. Now go on. You're fine. You're okay. And he walked away. So she did report it to her supervisors immediately. She did tell her friends. In what happened because of that report is she was discouraged from pursuing it further and was offered a nice little walking package. She told her friends and her family. Many people corroborated that to the New York Times and other media outlets. Also, her mom called into CNN's Larry King asking for advice about her daughter who had been assaulted. Now, Tara Reade never knew about this until it was surfaced during the 2020 election. Here is that very clip.
Yes, hello. I'm wondering what a staffer would do besides go to the press in Washington. My daughter has just left there after working for a prominent senator and could not get through with her problems at all. And the only thing she could have done was go to the press, and she chose not to do it out of respect for him.
Or she had a story to tell, but out of respect for the person she worked for, she didn't tell it.
That's true.
Okay. Now, the story she told Tucker Carlson on this interview, which I do hope that you watch, is the same story she's been telling Redacted over and over, that she wants to testify against Joe Biden. She wants the Justice Department to show her the charges against her and give her the records of her report from the 90s. She wants protection from the United Nations Human Rights Special Rapporteur, and she wants Jim Jordan to look into this corruption in the House Judiciary Committee. She has received none of that. She's been left out to dry, despite the Democrats' rallying cry of believe all women. And now she's being pursued, she says, for sowing discord because she's challenging the powerful and the person backed by clearly secret dark forces. Now, she is living in Moscow under political asylum, and clearly she has been for a year now. She went there for business, and she said at the time she was planning to go to the Senate in the United States and request a congressional investigation of her story.
To the story, you're in Moscow, where we are now, and you hear that you could be indicted or punished under the Foreign Agent Registration Act for giving this interview with a local TV station. And what do? How do you respond?
Well, I wanted to look at all the data points. You know, I'm not an impulsive person. I like to think, and I didn't have a lot of time. I mean, we're talking, I had to make this in a 48-hour window, right? And so this was a lot of pressure, but I did. I took the time. I talked to my daughter for hours. I talked to my lawyer. I got more data points of other people who had opinions that were educated. And then I talked to Matt Gaetz. And I am forever grateful that he took my call. And he was, you know, I want to give him some credit here.
The congressman from Florida.
Yeah, because I was supposed to go the first week of June and walk with him on the Senate floor to get my Senate thing opened. And I wanted to do that. And he advised me, he didn't advise me, I should rephrase that. He gave me information. He basically just said, you know, I'm worried about you. I'm worried about your personal safety. And you're good where you are, you know, that kind of thing. And he just said he knew how those people operated. And so he was concerned about me.
Those people being employees of the U.S. government.
Right. And he sits on the Intelligence Committee. So when a U.S. congressman tells you something like that, that's a remarkable data point, right?
It is.
A remarkable data point, and I trust him. Because he could have easily just said, oh, sure, it'll be fine. And I did ask him, I said, please, you know, Congressman, can you help me? Can you get me off these charges? And he said, no, I can't. I'm sorry. I can't. My hands are tied. I don't even know what they are. And sometimes some of this intelligence isn't shared. But what I can tell you is just that I understand how these people operate. And yeah, I'm really worried about your personal safety.
God, can you imagine?
No.
So she's there on a trip as part of a book. She was working on her book. She was there, supposed to be just there for about a week.
Yes.
And she was set to come home and see her daughter's birthday.
She's getting married and graduating.
Yeah, getting married and graduating. So she was getting ready to come home and then gets this data point from Congressman Matt Gaetz.
Right, saying that you could be arrested when you come back. Now, I want to sort of juxtapose this with Tucker's situation because at the time they're both sitting in Moscow. Tucker was told the same thing, that if he went to Moscow, he could be charged. And he said, I reject that. I'm a citizen. What I'm doing is legal, and I'm going to do it anyway. And he went. But if Tucker had been arrested and charged, it would have caused an absolute stink. We would see clearly that the Justice Department was targeting him politically. Would this media, or would there be a stink for Tara Reade? Well, no, they've shown that the media doesn't care. They ignore her, right? So what would it have caused outrage beyond something like this show? Clearly not. Watch.
And you think about it, I'm not that well known. I would have been in the news maybe a day or two. Maybe you or someone else might have talked about me for a couple of times, but it would have been considered a conspiracy theory, like Adam Rich, right? And his death.
Seth Rich. Right.
Seth Rich, yeah.
So we interviewed her just after she sought asylum in Russia last year. And the thing that still haunts me is that she had to put her life together there with spit and glue based on fear and intimidation by her own government. Watch. I guess this is kind of an obvious question, but I want to ask it. Do you want to be there?
Right now, okay, this is the thing. When I came here, I was on vacation for 7 days. So, and I was telling, Clayton and you, I think earlier, that I had a suitcase with 7 days worth of clothes, not even a coat. And so I'm not, I don't have many of the things that I need with me right now. And that's a bit of a challenge because I can't get mail here.
My understanding is you're gonna need a coat in Russia.
Yeah, I am going to need to go. So I came here for the book. My book was given to an international publishing house here in Moscow that was going to translate it in several languages, including Russian, and redistribute it with 3 additional chapters. And then they accepted another book. The manuscript's due in the fall, and I was so excited about all that. So I thought I was going to go home. There was a family event I was to attend that happened last week, and some other things because my daughter's going to be getting married next year. So I was, I had a lot of plans this summer around family and events, and I was looking forward to an easier schedule because I was just going to have a writing schedule. And and then I was given information that I couldn't go home.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want to get too emotional, but I can't tell you what it's like to not know when I'm going to see my daughter, my family, my friends, and my pets. So it's been an adjustment. As far as like here, people here have been lovely to me. I have no complaints. I mean, they're treating me so well. I have enough to eat. I'm okay. I have enough to, I have a place to sleep. I have a safe place to be. I have work that I can do, some writing work and all of that. So, that's all positive. I was looking forward to coming back and forth between Russia and the United States, like Scott Ritter and other people do.
Yeah.
But apparently that option wasn't allowed for me.
Okay. So again, I just ask you to consider her story, just the same way Tucker Carlson now is. We have been asking you for that for a long time. And also consider that the media is so in love with Stormy Daniels, a porn star who had a consensual alleged relationship with Donald Trump. This woman was attacked allegedly by Joe Biden, and she then has subsequently been attacked by her own government. So who is deciding? Again, the argument around Stormy Daniels is that we, the voters, had the right to know about it. Well, why do we, the voters, not have a right to know about what happened to Tara Reade at the hands of Joe Biden? Who's deciding to pursue her and not Stormy Daniels, who at a minimum seems to have perjured herself, at worst extorted sex for money? So why is this happening? And we as the American public, what are we going to do about it? So let me know what you think of that.
Well, hopefully,
go ahead.
I was going to say, hopefully shining a light on this, Tucker's shining a light on this, on a large scale will maybe create some movement here for Tara in the Justice Department and get some, rattle some cages, or at least maybe more congressmen besides just Congressman Gates will come forward and really trying to shine a light on this, Jim Jordan, et cetera, at a larger scale. Go ahead, Philip.
I was going to say how terrifying the idea of being charged with sowing discord is. Because if you've got an entire government, the size of the U.S. government, coming after you for something so just confusing as sowing discord, that's like, how is that? That is a terrifying thing, that if they're going after people for that. Because, I mean, what is that ultimately? What is sowing discord?
Yeah, what does that even mean?
It's wrongthink.
Yeah, it's wrongthink. It's part of the thought crime police right now that we're facing at the Justice Department. Well, let us know what you think about that in the comments below. And we really appreciate Tara always being open and honest, and our heart goes out to her and her situation. So hopefully there's some movement on this. We try to shine a light on it, but Tucker, much louder bullhorn, hopefully can rattle some
and read
cages.
her book if you want to know exactly what this is about. I do recommend it. It's an easy read, and you'll realize exactly how many things she has done right and how many things have been done to her.
Yeah, maybe make that an Amazon bestseller. Like, that could help, right? Put that.
That's another one. When you put it in Amazon, you're going to get like a blip in the matrix, because they do not want you to read that book.
The book is called Left Out by Tara Reade. Check it out on Amazon. And because Amazon loves to suppress books like this. So see if you can find it, buy it, share it. There it is. That's the front cover of it. When the truth doesn't fit in, read it, understand what she went through. Let's make it an Amazon bestseller. And then they can't ignore it. Once it sits at the top of the charts, I love that.
Yeah,
the Redacted audience. All right. We got more news to get to. We're going to talk about Canada's hate speech law in a second, because if you think America is bad with authoritarianism right now going after thought crime, man, wait till you hear about the hate crimes law and some of the new nuggets that have been just uncovered inside of this thing under the Trudeau government. But first,
First, we want to tell you about American financing because everyone thinks mortgage rates are extremely high, but historically that's not exactly true. Mortgage rates are still much lower than the average credit card rate of 22%. So think about how much interest you're going to pay on that credit card if you're only paying the minimum amount every month. Or if you're a homeowner, a cash out refinance with American Financing can help you pay off that debt and lower your monthly expenses. And the mortgage interest is tax deductible. So basically you're trading a high interest debt product for a low interest debt product and saving yourself money. This is something that all smart financial homeowners or families know. It's like saving you an average of $854 a month. So at American Financing, their salary-based consultants will help you figure out how much you can save with no upfront fees and no obligations. And you can close in as fast as 10 days and possibly delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you greater savings up front. So get the financial relief you need and stop living paycheck to paycheck. Call them and see if this works for you and your family at 866-890-8434 today. One more time, that's 866-890-8434 today, or visit americanfinancing.net/redacted. One more time, that's americanfinancing.net/redacted.
Well, Canada is ready to imprison anyone who's ever posted hate speech online, thanks to Justin Trudeau's Orwellian new law, the Online Harms Bill, C-63. But according to Revolver News, the real gotcha in this bill is the alarming retroactive piece of this legislation, something we haven't talked about. Essentially, whatever you've said in the past can now be weaponized against you right now in the present. Even if it was 5-10 years ago, it doesn't matter. Elon Musk tweeted this. This sounds insane if accurate. Community notes, please check it out. Anyway, Ottawa's own independent journalist, David Craden, joins us now. David, you've written more on this harms bill than just about anyone I know. So welcome back to the show, David. Good to see you.
Nice to be back, Clayton. You know, I call this bill, the Online Harms Act, I call this the bill that keeps on giving. Or maybe that should be taking. Because the more you look at this bill, the more you discover there's unseen, unnoticed portions of it. In this latest episode here, we all miss this. I must say, I have not noticed this. And here we are, Elon Musk is noticing that all of this information, and myself, I've been producing material for 25 years or more. Now, most of this is still online. And because of all of these media outlets I work for, keep it archived and they keep it online. I can find material I wrote for the Daily Caller 8 years ago is still online. Stuff I wrote for other media outlets. Now, is any of this going to be deemed or assessed as hate speech? Well, it certainly wasn't at the time.
Right.
And I always bent over backwards to be careful about the words I used. However, we live in a crazy age where anything can be construed as hate speech. And under this law, it's clear that's going to happen. So is this going to have a chilling effect on people? Are they going to suddenly look into their archives and is there anything I can delete? This is totally nonsensical, Clayton. This is a monstrous dragnet is how I would describe this. People are going to be forced to go over their material and say, did I say something wrong 15 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Is it going to be subject to assessment by this hate speech tribunal, by this online censorship czar that the Online Harms Act creates? Do I need to worry about this? Am I going to be so worried about this I won't be able to produce material today?
Right.
Am I going to be worried about it?
That's a great point, right? It's a tapping of resources. So, and I imagine that the people that they will start to look at most vehemently are the people that they deem to be extremists, like the trucker convoy people or the opposition party, the people that would support a Pierre Poilievre, or those individuals in Canada. Those are the people they would start to go back and start to look through their information on this. So I should point out, Elon Musk asked for community notes on this, and he got them. Here it is. Readers added context. Part 3 of Bill C-63, which is still at first reading stage, is not yet law. Of course, we know that. It adds to the Canadian Human Rights Act, quote, a person communicates or causes to be communicated hate speech so long as the hate speech remains public and the person can remove or block access to it. So in other words, the way that I'm reading that is, David, you have an opportunity to go through and clean stuff up. And if you do that, you'll be okay. If you go back and you're going to spend 70 days going through all of your archives, you're not going to produce anything new for the next 70 days, the next 100 days. You're going to go through all of your past writings. You're going to see if you've said anything that the Trudeau government could deem as hate, and you can remove it. If you can't remove it, then it's there, and what can they do to you? We don't know. It's still kind of a nebulous answer here, right?
Well, exactly. And where do I begin and where do I end? But that's the point of all this. It's to make people so obsessed with the words they use, not only today, but 10 or 15 years ago, that they're not going to have the ability to produce material today, and they're going to be completely stymied. This is the objective of this bill, is to stop people from writing and from thinking. And we've been so focused on the thought crimes component of this bill. That's been the most marketable in terms of the opposition to this. When I talk about this bill, I get glassy-eyed people sometimes because they're saying, this can't be real. When I say, did you know there's a thought crimes component? Oh, that's interesting. Sounds like George Orwell. Sounds like 1984. That's what people have been talking about. And I think that's what Trudeau really wants, is we're going to focus on that, and we're going to miss a lot of the other material that's in this bill. Did you know, for instance, Clayton, and I think Elon Musk should know this, there's an 8% extortion fee connected to this bill, which is something I uncovered early. I've talked about this before, but I don't think Elon Musk is aware of this. And what do I mean by an 8% extortion fee? There's a stipulation in this bill that if social media companies carry material that is deemed to be hateful, that is deemed to be hate speech, and it's not taken down immediately, or it's not taken down to the same degree that the government deems necessary to do so, they will be subject to an 8% extortion fee. They're not calling it extortion. I'm calling it extortion. So the government of Canada will take 8% of their gross revenues, up to $25 million. So they're going to be fining Facebook, fining X, up to $25 million for having hate speech on their media outlet, on their social media platform. Now, if I was a social media company, I'd say, why in heck would I want to have any business with Canada when I'm subject to this kind of rule? This is extortion. So this is, again, as with other censorship laws from Justin Trudeau, this is about getting social media platforms silenced and not even existing in Canada. They're going to withdraw from Canada because they don't need this. They don't need these financial encumbrances, these legal encumbrances. Do they really want to start hiring lawyers to fight Justin Trudeau? Do they really want to consider $25 million fines? Is Canada worth it? Is the audience there worth it? They're going to say no. And that's what Justin Trudeau wants. He has said repeatedly he wants to live in a Canada where we just had the old style media, the CBC, the CTV, and Global News, and a couple of national newspapers. None of this social media stuff. None of this independent media like Redacted is doing and that I am doing and other people are doing. Let's get back to those simple times where we just had the three basic Canadian networks and some national newspapers, and we didn't have to worry about social media. That's his plan here, Clayton. I believe that firmly. That's what's behind this.
And we're already seeing it. We know just from our audience here, we have a pretty large Canadian audience. I'll ask you guys watching right now, try to share this show. Click right now and click share and try to share it on Facebook. Many of you will find out that you're unable to share it on Facebook. They will block it. You're not able to in Canada. You might be able to still in the United States, but in Canada, many Canadian viewers will tell us they cannot share the show with their audience on their social media platforms because it's blocked. So pretty soon, yeah, you're going to see a removal of YouTube in Canada. You'll see a removal of Facebook. Not that that's a bad thing. maybe getting rid of Facebook altogether. But, Facebook in Canada, TikTok in Canada, anything else that's not government run, government sanctioned is about to be removed. I firmly believe that. I think you're 100% true on that. How far along is this bill? When are we going to see the next reading of this? And what stage do you think we are in right now before this thing becomes law?
Well, typically there's from 2 to 3 months between readings. The first reading was a month ago. We're probably a month away. If we're lucky, we'll have a summer recess at the House of Commons, which usually occurs in the third week of June. So we might be able to miss the second reading before the House recesses for the summer, which would be good because technically it's possible for this bill to pass before October 2025 when the next federal election is scheduled. However, we need to have more opposition behind this bill, and we need a summer where people have a chance to understand what is behind this, where Elon Musk understands, as the bill says, if you're found guilty of an offense of hate speech, we are taking 8% of your gross revenue if you're found guilty of that. Now, where's Pierre Poilievre on this bill? He's spoken about this once. Very cleverly, yes, he talked about how Trudeau looks at 1984 not as a warning, but a plan. That was good. But he's not mentioning this in the House of Commons every day in question period. It's all about stolen cars, and it's all about the drug opioid crisis in BC. Nothing about the free speech crisis that's going on in Canada right now. We could lose our free speech for good in this country, and we need a stronger opposition response to this, and we need journalists, not just the independent ones and the new ones, such as you and I, but we need legacy reporters and journalists and columnists to wake up to this. This is aimed at them too. They will be silenced. They will be subject to persecution. They will be subject to judicial review. They will be subject to legal action and potentially jail time. What does it take for this message to sink in? I don't know. I have been broadcasting and writing about this now for 6 to 7 weeks, and I'm not seeing the response we need from the official opposition and from the media in this country. And I'm very concerned about that, Clayton.
Well, this post by Elon just got about over 50 million views. So hopefully, maybe there's some awareness creeping in here. So that's why I wanted to talk about it today, because I think this is, hopefully this could be a tipping point moment. Yeah, maybe a sea change moment in Canada. David Clayton, great to have you on, being able to express your opinions and speak freely for the time being up there in Canada. Hopefully that will continue through the summer. We hope that that's the case till Canada turns into North Korea. David, great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Clayton.
All right. Thanks so much, David. So we will watch this voting and this discussion at the next reading of this bill in Canada. We want to thank all of you for joining us tonight on the show. We should point out we have a great newsletter. It'll be back on Monday morning, delivered to your inbox. Just go to redacted.inc and sign up. It's not .com. And then just click on the left side there. It says sign up for our free newsletter. Put in your email address, and then you will receive a welcome email from us. You just have to confirm it. And then on Monday morning, you will receive the newsletter first thing in the morning. We cover like 4 or 5 of the big stories of the day, plus some market news, information, some trending news. And we try to get you out of there with a little smile on your face. You'll be more informed. You'll get stories that the mainstream media ignores. Again, go to redacted.inc is the place to sign up for the newsletter today.
All right, that's going to do it for us here on Redacted for live shows for the week, but we'll be back live on Monday, and we'll have content for you all throughout the weekend. So please keep coming back, sharing with your friends, pushing the like button. We only accept thumbs up, no thumbs down. Get out of here.
I don't care. If you want to give us a thumbs down, that's totally fine as well.
Just maybe tell us why. Comment and let us know. You don't have to agree.
I think YouTube removed the dislike button, didn't they?
It's there, but it doesn't give you a count anymore.
Okay.
So you can push a thumbs down, but it doesn't give.
Okay, but please just give us a thumbs up. Yeah.
Do it.
Be kind.
Yeah.
Be kind. Rewind. All right. We'll see you on Monday, everyone. Have a great weekend.